All right, so I think it's about time that we talk because I've had this weird internal dialogue just going on in my head over and over again, and I really need to get it out. And what it's about, you might ask, is actually about value and the way that we perceive value when it comes to guitars. Like, what are those individual factors that would make us call a guitar valuable? And the first thing immediately that I thought of course, was price. You walk into a guitar store, you see that Les Paul Custom, and you're like, that thing costs $7,000. It must be valuable. And some of the other things, specifically when it comes to like acoustics or like tone woods, does this have sapelli? Does this have solid mahogany? Like, what is it? It may even be sentimental value that I was thinking about, because this may have been the guitar that you got from your parents on a very particular Christmas. This may have been a gift from a friend, like something like that. But the thing that I kept thinking about over and over and over again when it comes to value is the actual business side of things, and that's supply and demand. Even when I think about that Les Paul Custom that I just mentioned that costs $7,000, that's a hard guitar to get because it costs so much. But I've recently actually run into a guitar that only costs about $700 or $800, so it's about in the mid-level price range, that is just impossible to get your hands on, which is why I go back to that supply and demand thing. There's just such a high demand for this guitar, and that is the Tim Henson signature nylon. You see, a couple of months ago, I was actually on the phone with one of my friends. His name is Grant. He's a fantastic guitar player. He's taught me a lot about jazz in the past. Link below if you want to see that video. And he told me, he was like, Mike, I finally got it. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, I just ordered the Tim Henson nylon string. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. I love Polyphia. I had just started getting into them. So I told him, when am I going to come over? When am I going to get to try this thing? And he's like, Mike, I don't think you know his signature. Is it that hard to get your hands on? He's like, Michael, go on Reverb right now. I just want you to check what the resale is going for. That $700 guitar was going for like $2,200. You could not get your hands on one. And he's like, this one is actually going to take 4 or 5 months to ship. So I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. The demand is that high for this guitar? And he's like, yes. It reminded me of like when the Silver Sky SE came out a year ago with PRS, but kind of to the nth degree. I was like, when am I ever going to be able to get my hands on this thing? But you know, time passes, months pass, and I actually got to play one in person when I met Tim, which was awesome. But eventually Grant's guitar did show up, and I was like, you need to bring that thing over. That's probably him right now. Okay, so from the time you ordered this, how long did it actually take to get here?
I think this guitar took 5 or 6 months from when I ordered it. I got in a little late and didn't fully pre-order it, and it still took 6 or 7 months to probably arrive, but well worth the wait. I think that's been, kind of the thing, was a lot of patience, but it's definitely paid off. I think, one of the things that really drew me to this guitar was just the appearance from the Tree of Death inlay that I love, but I think the thing I didn't realize when I was ordering it that's actually my favorite part is this binding. This little, I don't remember exactly what they call it, but the binding really just brings the entire guitar together from, having just the black top and the black kind of, back of the neck, just wood, I guess. I don't actually know what it's made of. But, from that to the gold hardware and then matching your tuners to your actual inlay and then to the binding really just brings this guitar together. The pickups do a really good job of keeping the sound the way it is, and it's not distorted and it's not overly bright or anything like that, but it does a really, really good job of capturing that nylon sound without having the full body that you get in a lot of classical guitars.
This is just one of those weird guitars just because I'm not used to, in any way, shape, or fashion, playing nylon strings. So first of all, you were telling me when we were first hanging out and just playing it, I was trying to do all these bends just because I'm used to being an electric player, and you were like, please don't. That's just not the thing to do. And the other thing, having the EQ, that's so weird to me on a nylon string. But it was like you were saying, it sets this guitar apart in like 10 different ways. The fact that you can actively like turn the treble down. And then if you wanted more treble or just like no bass at all, I feel like that's way more classical tone. So if you couldn't kind of tell already, I'm sitting here kind of going crazy over this guitar, and I decided to actually take a long shot. And I asked Grant if while he went on his honeymoon for the next couple weeks, I could borrow this guitar and just play around with it and see what I think about it in the long run. And because he's a great friend, he said yes. Okay, it's really weird because the first time I remember seeing one of these, not even just like a Tim Henson, but a nylon string outside of like the classical music context that I had previously only thought it could be used in, was actually like this singer-songwriter named Ben Rector, who's like Nashville guy, super talented. I remember seeing him use one in like one of those pace sessions or something like that, and he was really just strumming open chords. But now getting it, the first time I picked it up, I was like, okay, it doesn't have to just be a classical guitar. It can be used in like all these different contexts. I feel like just instinctually, whenever you pick up a guitar, you try and play more and more like that player. Like if you pick up a Tele, you play country licks. When you pick up a Strat, you try and play a little more Stevie Ray Vaughan. But I physically can't play any Tim Henson riff other than like one without literally embarrassing myself. So this guitar doesn't change how I play at all. And here's the other thing, and it's something that I think is so important to address, but sometimes I get scared just because of some of the implications that might come with it. And that's not just the name on the headstock, but the actual artist who is endorsing the guitar. And so in the case of Tim Henson, one of the things that I love about Polyphia as a band is that they are some of the most technical guitar players in the world. Both Tim and Scott can shred as well as probably any guitar player that I've ever seen in my life. But that's not necessarily why Polyphia has become basically the biggest instrumental rock band the guitar world has seen in years. It's because they're able to create a culture. I mean, I haven't seen it with any other guitar artist specifically, other than maybe Mayer and a couple others, where as soon as they drop a video, like as soon as there's a new music video or a new song, there's 10,000 people that have to do a reaction video. There's a million different shredders, but there's not a million different like shred bands that have been able to like make this much of an impact on the overall guitar community, where like the blues guys know about Polyphia, the math rock guys know about Polyphia, the jazz guys know about Tim Henson. Everyone knows about what they're doing. And I think their ability to create that culture is just as big and just as impressive as just their technical ability. And that definitely moves on over to the way that they create their products, specifically when it comes to creating this nylon string guitar, this Tim Henson signature. This isn't just Ibanez doing a nylon string guitar and slapping Tim Henson's name on it. No, this is Tim Henson's guitar, and you can tell from the inlays, you can tell from the fact that it goes well with Archetype, like all of that. And what's actually really weird, it was the first time that I've ever played a nylon string before in my life where I didn't want to just put it on my left leg and just... And I think that's because it's the Polyphia nylon string, because I took one single guitar class in college where we would play a nylon string guitar. The professor actually rented it out to me. He was like, I expect you to bring this back at the end of the semester. And in that class, we would just play random sheet music that I wouldn't take the time to learn. I would just learn it by ear like 10 minutes before because I was really lazy. But anytime I would pick up that nylon string, I would just think to myself, okay, put it on your left leg. Your thumb cannot be over the fretboard. You have to play jazz chords, and the higher the number, like if they're 7th chords or 9th chords or dominant 7th chords, you know you're doing it right. But anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. Thanks you to Grant for just letting me use his guitar for the past couple of weeks and really just get a feel for it. It was incredible to use, and I love that guitar, and I just love what Tim's doing just in general with a lot of his stuff. If you want to know anything more about that guitar, you can check out the links below. It's one of the best ways to support the channel if that's something you want to do, or if you're just curious about any of the other gear that we used in this video, make sure to check out those links. Like and subscribe if you had a good time, and most importantly, most important of all, have a fantastic day.